So, you think you might want to become a medical doctor. You might want to think again when you consider your personal life because it's such a challenge to balance work and home responsibilities, especially for young women that are working long hours and wanting to have a peaceful family life. In fact, many professions can lead to burnout and depression. But when we talk about doctors, we're talking about risking human lives. And it's important to have a good family life in order to be present and do the best job at work.
Indeed, and it's a tragedy that medical training is the way that it is. Because a lot of the time, interns and residents are abused by working long hours to the tune of as many as 120 hours a week for a 7-day week. I know when I was in training, I was on for 36 hours and off for 12 for months at a time. And you just don't have time for things like a family, for recreation, for just downtime or to keep fit. It's like you're learning one thing. It's a one-dimensional thing. And what we need are doctors that are very good doctors, but also happy.
Well, I think that there are a lot of professions, not just doctors, but as a nurse, I experienced
Hmm.
some of that myself,
Hmm.
when you can get burned out and stressed and depressed and you're just like totally overworked.
Well, look at the rates of suicide amongst medical students. It's 11%, and this has been documented by multiple studies. And the rates of alcoholism and drug use and suicide, they're high in the medical profession. It's almost like 10 to 15 years is cut out of your life.
And also think about it. If you put your work first, it tends to increase family squabbles and relationship problems increase. And I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have to have studies in order to know this.
Right. It's just simple common sense. We need to have balance. That's what it is. And we have lots of needs that need to be taken care of. If those needs are overlooked, then we've got real problems.
I think it would be nice if the hospitals would pay a little bit more attention to people's family lives, maybe even when they're interviewing them for medical school to discuss all that. And then if they could maybe even make some rules, like for example, if your children are sick or your spouse is sick, to allow you to use some of your own sick leave in order to stay home and to take care of them. That's part of caring and learning how to be a good health professional.
Right. You would think that the doctors who have been in practice for a number of years and who are on the teaching staff of hospitals would put a stop to behavior like this. But they haven't. They haven't come to the rescue of them. And until they do, it's probably going to continue on as it is because a lot of this boils down to money. If you look at the amount of money that's saved over just a nurse practitioner for a surgeon who's in training for 4 years or 5 years, you're looking at a couple of $1 million there that the hospital would have to pick up to be able to pay for those hours.
Well, too, if you're happy at work and you're going to be better when you're home, and if you're happy at home, you're going to do better when you're at work. And if you're having personal problems, many times people take those problems with them to work and vice versa. So this is why it's so important. And I think that hospitals should go, and other professions should go out of their way to, like I said earlier, personalize it for their employees.
Well,
Like, for example, when I was a young nurse and my children were very young and I was a single parent at the time, it was very, very difficult to be able to do shift work because if I did shift work, then I couldn't be present with my kids. And my kids were definitely a priority to me. In fact, I ended up quitting one job and taking another one just because of that shift situation. And the director of nursing was just so insensitive and could have cared less because what she said, like I've heard you tell me before about when you were in medical school, it was like, well, I had to go through it and I was a parent and I had to work all these shifts and everything. And so she was like wanting me to do it because she had to do it. And that's
yeah.
what some of the doctors do.
Well, it's about balance. If we have balance in life and we can nurture all of the parts of who we are, all the perspectives of who we are, then there's a good chance that we're going to be more effective at the whole thing. So when we're looking at what's happening here with balance in life or the lack of it because of the way the training is going to become a doctor, it would behoove us to pay more attention to the things that we need to be satisfying our needs in every area so that when we get out into practice, we won't have these gaping holes in our personality that lead to us giving care to our patients that's not very thoughtful or comforting.
You know, it's making me think of the other night I was watching a show on TV called Undercover Boss. And if you've
Mm.
never watched it, I really would recommend that you watch it because it was just so wonderful. These bosses would dress up and pretend like they were somebody else that was new trying to learn the job. And in the process, they were learning some of the problems that their employees were having. And at the end, gee, they gave them wonderful rewards and extra benefits and
Yeah,
things. And
well, for what doctors go through, there should definitely be rewards. And the rewards need to shift from money and from power and prestige to being satisfied with providing service that helps somebody that makes you feel good.